grows cupcakes and is a cupcake extraordinaire and loves to cook. So let's give a really warm welcome to Veronica Brown.
Okay, and I too have all of my notes on my phone. So, let's see. I was raised Southern Baptist, but very traditional religious sort of upbringing. But my conversion story isn't really that interesting, so that's not really what I'm going to focus on today. A lot of it got older, really into the church thing, but then I started to explore my faith. Kind of in a nutshell, I read books. That fixed a lot of things. I read the Bible, discovered that God really had a thing against women and foreskins, and then I'm like, maybe I should start exploring other religions, and then I'm like, well, how do I know which one's true? Oh, maybe none of them are. So, it was kind of a gradual process, but essentially I stopped going to church and stopped participating in those sort of rituals that I'd come to grow up with, and, started hanging around a lot of atheist-type people, especially when I moved out here. But other than the religious thing, my upbringing was really fantastic. I'm very fortunate, very privileged. My parents are still married, very white, middle class, suburbia. My mom stayed at home. She was a teacher. So she taught me a lot of things. She was a really fantastic mother. I was a smart kid, so I, have the usual issues in school, like, why do I need to be here? Why do I need to learn this? I'm never going to learn, I'm never going to be math. I had a calculator. So one of the things Mom taught me was kind of how to think. So that was kind of to her detriment with the whole religion thing. But so one of the things she would teach me is, I struggled a lot with math in school in the beginning, and then I got really good at it. But so she tutored me at home, and I'd always question why I need to learn this. I have a calculator. Why do I need to learn this? So she would tell me, learning this sort of thing teaches you how to think. So you're not just learning and memorizing 2 + 2 = 4, 5 × 5 = 25, and pi is a very interesting number that you can memorize to see the amount of digits, and it's not going to get you anywhere. But it teaches you how to think mathematically. So when you learn this stuff, you're kind of training your brain. So when you're brought up in a house with faith, you're also training your brain to think a certain way. So something also that my mom would always say is, faith is a virtue. She'd usually pair this with faith is a virtue, patience is a virtue, to get me to quit asking a lot of questions. But it's something I've thought a lot about since kind of questioning that and abandoning faith as a virtue. And I still maintain that faith is not a virtue. It's not a really good way to think about the world. And it gets really confusing because faith is used in a lot of different ways. So when I'm talking about faith, I'm talking about believing things without asking for evidence, or believing things when the evidence points in the exact opposite direction. A lot of people will be like, well, it's good to have faith in people, or good to have faith in your husband, or good to have faith in the people around. And that's something entirely different. There's, one dictionary definition, the second dictionary, I'm not talking about that type of faith. I'm talking about living a life unquestioned. And once I've started to move away from the church background, I've noticed how much faith as a virtue has affected people to their detriment, and then how living a life of reason without faith has actually improved my life. And a lot of people will sometimes question, like, well, what is atheism or agnosticism or, not believing in God off your life? Well, this is it. You learn to question your life. And so some of the ways that's affected my life, like, for starters, it changes the way that I deal with authority. Like, question authority. That doesn't mean necessarily talk back to your boss. It means look at things from their perspective. A lot of people are taught to be unquestioning towards authority and not kind of analyze what's going on. And you see this with like the over-patriotic way that people in a church kind of identify. Like they're very into nation and country and put in your 40 hours a week, if not more, and do what the boss tells you. And that's not necessarily the best way to kind of deal with the world. Like sometimes you do have to question what the government is doing, or question, does my boss actually have the best solution? Really? Probably not. Does he understand this? Is there a way that I could think about this and make him understand? So just having that questioning attitude towards, all your entire life, like in a respectful manner, of course, it kind of opens you up to that. And then something that I've noticed too, it changes the way I look at circumstances and events, and especially when this has to come to deal with, my own self-esteem. Bad things happen to everybody, good things happen to everybody. Hopefully it's a pretty well-balanced life for most people, but bad things happen. They're not a punishment for something I've done earlier. And it's easy to kind of think that way, even if you don't believe in God or divine punishment, or I did this bad thing once in the past, therefore this is a consequence of it. You kind of have a little bit more grounding in reason, so you don't take it on faith that karma or God or whatever, the universe is kind of coming back to balance things out. I see a lot of people who still kind of believe in the karmic effect, and it's like, it's not actually true, and it does kind of affect the way you handle tragedy and things like that. It's like, oh, my spouse died, or a friend died, or somebody left me, or I lost my job. This must be because I deserve it in some way. And it's something a lot of people deal with. So when you're able to have a more reasoned foundation, then you're able to handle those sort of circumstances better. As well as sometimes people actually handle good things happening to them poorly. Like, I don't believe that I've done anything to deserve this. This is going to balance out somehow. I got a great job. I had an awesome husband or wife, and and it's going to balance out. And sometimes, it's hard to accept the good things that happen in life. So having that reason helps your life kind of be more grounded. So another thing that's really helped is the way I've evaluated my morals. And I hit a lot there, but apparently I don't have time to talk. So, questioning my morals, I'm able to experience more of the gray area in life. Like, a lot of things I took unquestioning as a child, like abortion was wrong. I didn't even know what sex was, but I knew that abortion was bad because it killed babies, and babies are cute, and you don't want to kill those. And it was very black and white before I even knew how the baby got there, kind of thing. So it was a little bit of an upbringing in that respect, I guess. But that was more my church than my parents. Things like, well, poor people deserve to be poor because they didn't raise themselves up by their bootstraps. And sort of the things you take unquestioning as a child and kind of repeat as an adult, you do need to question, kind of evaluate your morals. And then other things I've learned to question and not have faith in is my relationships, like friends, romantic partners, things like that. Like, a lot of people still, even without believing in God, they believe that there's somebody out there for everybody. There's that one true soulmate. I hate the term soulmate. Dave, my good husband, he's wandering around with my camera somewhere. He likes to use that term, but only because he knows it annoys me. There's not any such thing as a soulmate. Not that I believe in. there's a lot of people out there that we can have different sort of connections with, and to try to force them into a box because of, you know, societal constraints, you know, you abandon that faith and that sort of model and question it, and then you can open up to so much more. I'm getting the look now. All right, and then finally, smiles, yes. And then I've learned to kind of be self-critical and analytical, not just, you know, I still have faith in myself and that I believe that I can do what I want to do, but I also know my limits. The whole, you can be anything you want to be. I'm not going to be applying for the MBA anytime soon. Probably already past the theoretical physicist career choice line as well. But you know, to be able to be a little more self-analytical, sometimes a little bit too much, but you know, finding my talents and kind of appreciating myself for who and what I really in reality am. So I found that abandoning faith and living a life of reason has vastly improved my life, improved my self-esteem, and improved the way that I treat the world and treat other people, and yeah, kind of build a world that